When it comes to getting more sales, price isn't everything. It's just one of the factors that people take account of. And contrary to popular belief, it's not just the cheapest price that gets the sales. Otherwise, everyone shopping in Tesco go for the value range. Everyone would fly Ryanair, and no one would go British Airways. No one would go to the finest range in Tesco. No one would buy Rolls Royces. So price is only one part of the mix. And if you're charging a slightly higher price and can justify it, then people will probably quite happily trade up to it. And if you're selling on price, the problem there is someone else can undercut you by even a penny. And that's happened with the pound shops, where they've got a 99p shop opens down the road, and the 99p shop gets the trade. Sounds really, really weird. But if you're selling on price, that's what you risk. And actually quite often nowadays we use price as an indicator of quality. We kind of assume that if it's a pound item, it's not going to be that good. If it's a £50 item for something very similar, it's probably going to be quite good. So we use price as a shortcut. So if you're selling purely on price, whether it's cheap or high, just be aware of what people do. And as I said, cheap doesn't necessarily help. In fact, quite often it can hinder. If you're not making much margin, and you can't on a pound line, for instance, okay, you're probably not selling pound lines, but if you've got something similar in your business, and there's not much margin, consider, is it worth even stocking? If it leads people in, if it's the loss leader, then yeah. If everyone migrates to it because it seems the best option, there's not much differentiation, then maybe it's not doing as much good as you'd like. Which means that you need to talk about other things other than just price. I know people's first question is often how much, but if you can explain why what you're offering is better and not as price dependent or whatever, deflect maybe. Well, obviously answer the question, but not necessarily the first time out. For instance, if you're buying printing, you can go to Vistaprint or somewhere else and you get stuff cheap. But if you were competing against them, you'd say, well, yeah, but the quality of the card, if you're using it as a almost throwaway business card, yeah, if you want it to reflect quality, you need to consider whether it really does. And you can put doubts in people's mind without slagging off, without putting down the other company. You can put doubts in people's mind quite easily, and you just think, well, okay, if it's that, what are they missing out on? I mean, in the pub industry, everyone says that Wetherspoons is cheap because it sells short date beer. Now, if you go in there and look at the actual date on a bottle or whatever, you probably find that isn't the case. They're selling it cheap because they've got the turnover. But the rest of the trade will put that doubt into people's mind, and some people will believe that, and some people therefore won't use them because of that. So what I'm saying is, if you're up against a competitor who's just on price, well, okay, but is the service there? Is the quality there? Is the delivery time there? Because maybe you, going back to printing again, you pay a premium for faster delivery. In fact, you do that with Amazon as well. You can go on next day or express delivery or eBay, anywhere like that. You pay a premium for that. So again, that's another differentiator. If you've got a standard product or a relatively standard product, but you can do it in faster or better or whatever else than anyone else, position it that way. So look at how you position your product, how you position your services, and decide whether or not you could do it better, so that you get customers who, I wouldn't say aren't price sensitive, but who aren't as price sensitive as maybe the people that just shop down the cheaper end of town and search out the bargains. And actually, even the cheaper end of town, if you look at the UK supermarket end, Lidl and Aldi are both doing an equivalent to the Tesco finest range, and they're getting the price. So you can be all things to all people if you try, although it's actually usually much better to specialise, because otherwise you run the risk of just being all things to all people and jack of all trades, master of none. So have a think, work out what you really could push, what you can do, and definitely not just price.